Everybody to Living with Annietude podcast with the one and only beautiful marketing guru and many things that we're going to find out tonight. Judi Fox Rocks. Girlfriend, how are you?
Good. I'm excited to be here.
I am happy to have you. So Tuesday nights are getting harder and harder for me. This is, of course, the night that my daughter has soccer. We're running around like crazy. I had back-to-back meetings and took her. She doesn't eat very much. So when she does eat, it's really great. We have a party and I took her to make sure to get her fed and then get back here, send you the link, get on. And then, it's always crazy. It's like, God forbid you have a minute to just breathe, right?
You can take a deep breath right now.
doing it on my own, I know that there's people that can relate. So, so I have heard incredible things about you, from everybody, but I don't know firsthand. I mean, I haven't really talked to you a lot except for getting ready for this whole night. So I would love to find out kind of a little bit more about you if you would give me a little bit of a gist on Judi Fox Rocks.
Where do we want to start? I know this sounds funny, but I end up telling people I'm in my mid 40s because so many people think I'm super young, which I appreciate.
Yeah, you do have
there's no filter happening here.
Easily 25, easily. Which, that's
I've
not
always
a bad thing, girl.
been told I have a young attitude or energy or
Annietude. You might have a young attitude.
Smiling makes you look young in general, I think.
I think it does too. It's a great thing to wear.
But I tell people that because I have lived a lot of things than when I was 25. So there are certain things that I just did not have the perspective at 25. So I guess to give you some background, I started college in the mid 90s, 94, 95, graduated in 99 and worked in petroleum refineries, worked in very male dominated engineering industries because I studied chemical engineering. And that was never really what I wanted to do. It sounds funny, but it's just all that I knew. My dad was an engineer. My sister was an engineer. I freaking looked up to my sister and my dad like nobody's business. I looked up to my mom, but you know what I mean?
That was what you were doing.
It was a career path that I could see. And I feel like back in the day, before when you had no Google, you had to go to the library or you had to be exposed to a career path somehow in real life. How do you know it exists? I was
how do you know what you're
a lawyer, a doctor, an engineer?
Right. Those were the things we could be.
Yeah. So I picked engineering. It was a good decision. I literally at a year and a half or so got into management within the company, and which I loved that they tapped me for that. They were like, hey, we see a lot of potential in you. So I moved into corporate and I loved it. I was on the ladder. I was climbing.
I get it.
And I'm giving you the slow version. Is that okay?
Totally. I mean, we have a half hour, so whatever version you want to give. I'm
point is, I then decided to get an MBA/Masters of Science, and I was doing amazing. The world I thought was incredible, and I was maybe a little not obviously, but I just felt like everything just keeps going up. And then I experienced the 2008, 2009 recession. And then that's when I lost my job. And that's when I was hit in the face with, whoa, I have to look for a job. I have to figure things out. I had just gotten married and the world imploded or whatever.
This is crazy, Judi. This our wait till you hear. Our paths are next to each other, not just aligned, completely next to each other. We did the exact same thing, but go on.
Yeah. So in 2008, 2009 is when I felt like the world just kind of slammed me. And I had a business coach up to that point because, like I said, my company kind of tapped me for management and upper management. And being all the way to the C-suite, they were putting me in front of the board of directors, and it was a Fortune 500 company. And they ended up giving me a female mentor that was vice president already. And she ended up becoming the first female CEO of a major Fortune 500 construction.
Oh, wow. That's kind of cool.
So I do feel like I was very exposed at a early age, early 20s, to career path that could be C-suite, and just didn't see it's like kind of naive, but I was like, oh, that's just how it works for everybody. And that's not.
Well, that was your world. That was your world. So
it was my world and I loved it. And then the world exploded.
Yes.
And that's when I got on LinkedIn. I literally got on LinkedIn. Oh, I love that. Did we just become best friends? And I love it. So basically we traveled that first year while I was looking for a job on LinkedIn. So I signed up for LinkedIn. I was like, this is amazing. And it all can go down in the DMs, like conversations, get on calls. All of that was happening in 2009. So all this whole talk about LinkedIn, I'm like,
I've been doing this for a decade. Yeah.
This is how business happens, through conversations, through connections. That's just the way it happens. And then I guess the rest kind of took off. I just kept, I don't know, figuring, everything just felt like from that point forward, 2009 forward, I said to myself, I'll never be caught without some type of side hustle, some type of business that I've started to grow. So that's right when in 2009, I launched a resume remodeling and environmental consulting business, because that's what I knew how to do. And
be still my heart, the environment, be still my heart. That's one of my things. So I'm with you, girlfriend.
So fast forward a little bit more, and we're here where I basically hovered between business development, sales, being a seller, doer in consulting for the next 10 years, and had always hovered between, okay, I'm working for a company or I'm running my own environmental consulting business. So I kind of always had my foot in both worlds, because it was just not easy to go from the corporate climb and the corporate ladder to realizing that, how do I say this? That sense of security that you'll be with a company forever and ever just got ripped out from under everyone working in 2009.
Completely. I mean, you were a little bit, I have to say, you were a little bit ahead of your game. You were a very progressive thinker, being a 2008, 2009 sort of consultant, side gig, side hustle. So really ahead of your game like that. I was on the same path as you, climbing up the corporate ladder in pharma and the healthcare space. And 2008, when I got married, I'm no longer married, but
and I'm no longer married either.
we're in that club together too. I think we are completely aligned like that. So, and then, things kind of blew up in my face as well for many reasons, but I think I was more of the wrecking ball than the economy, but that's another story for another show. But, what I think that I think is really cool is like that it seems to be that you're doing what you really love and what you're good at. You just were, like I said, really ahead of the game. So tell me about how you just mentioned something about connections. You said that relationships are everything. Can you talk to me a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I think again, because I didn't come from a full-on like marketing background and a full-on like all these different full-on categories of advertising or PR and all these things, but it's just something that I started paying attention to. And getting my master's degree, it was a MBA / Master's of Science. It was like a weird hybrid because it was business sustainability. So I kept hearing all these gurus, and now that the world has gone even more social media and everyone's online and do all this business and LinkedIn's exploded, I keep saying to myself, it really comes down to what is sustainable. Yeah. And that's always going to come up. And because that's where I spent years studying that, like took me 4 years to get my master's in that space. And so that's why I don't know, a deep core value of it's not, and I'm sure, with anyone who understands the environment, it's way more than just pollution.
Sure. There's so many
you can't have economic unrest. You cannot have society unrest. And we see, I'm just going to get into what we're going through right now, but you can't have all that and have a thriving environment and economy. It's the three-legged stool. They all have to be there for us to all thrive as a society. Yeah. So.
And I totally am with you. And I went back too to get my MBA. I went to get my executive MBA at 40 because, I'm totally insane. So I was like, why don't I do that too? Because I can just drop like however much money, and I can do that because I have nothing else going on and a side gig and trying to, hustle kids to appointments and school and after school appointments and sports. So, I didn't have enough on my plate, but it was I don't know how you felt about it at the time that you went, but it was a really transformative experience for me. I really learned much more than like data analytics and statistics, you know, the core MBA stuff, but really like about life and what I wanted to do and the fact that I'm on a mission and I'm here to help people. You know, it really made that clear for me. So I don't know if you felt the same way.
Yeah, I don't know if I fully answered your original question. I just know that, you know, as I kept leaning into just what do I do naturally? What do people literally tell me that I do? Because I think as you get older, you connect dots. And that's when you said connections.
Yeah.
Really, people in general are more than a title. And that's when things like the Tipping Point book by Malcolm Gladwell, where he talks about 3 different personalities, the persuader, the maven, and the connector.
Yes, very good.
And so when we think about those different categories, we are so much more than a title. We're connectors, we're persuaders, we're mavens. Like we move around the world doing things in whatever category you normally is your main thing that you tend to do naturally is just, it opens up doors for you to connect with other people. Oh, Lila's here. And she's obviously like, I think she's a connector. I don't know exactly because she's doing so many things. But
we got our hands dirty and a lot of stuff between all of us. Yeah.
Exactly. So I just feel like the biggest thing that I think is how do you have relationships and conversations and how do you make this happen? And I think we sometimes make it more complicated. And that's why I hear all the words and terms, I'm B2B and I'm B2C. And I was like, aren't I a human? Yes. Like, that's why I was like, it's human to human, definitely.
And, you know, I think, and what I've been talking about on all these podcasts I've been on and all these people that I'm speaking to, like if there is a living with Annietude silver lining to all of this unrest and stuff that's going on, the fact that we're home in Corona and all this terrible stuff and sickness around us, like, if we are huddling down and connecting with others, at least for me, like this has been such a huge time for connection. Like I have grown my network, things are exploding. Like it's been really fun to get to know people that I would never have had the time or the wherewithal to connect with before. You feel like your connections have grown like enormously?
I feel like just in general, the energy around social media and how to use it in a way that is real versus scrolling the news feed or letting an algorithm feed you content. I think the most powerful thing I love about LinkedIn is it feels like it's really, I go on LinkedIn and I look up Jason, for example, he's right here. And I can go on and I can say, you know what is Jason up to? Or what is Annie
It's so much more personal. It's so much more personal than it is. Let me just scroll and see. And I have another thing that I'm thinking about that I've been talking about a lot lately, which is likes and like the number of likes and the followers. And I just can't get wrapped up in that. I just can't put my heart in that. My heart is in my content. When I make videos or I put content out, it's from my heart. And if one person, I swear to God, from my heart of hearts, if one person likes it, I'm like, I impacted one person. I did a really good job with that. Like, I'm not concerned with the amount of likes. I want quality. I feel that that is like the personal side of things. And that's what our connection is about.
Yeah, I think it's easy to look at likes and because people want to do metrics. And I guess because I am an engineer, I see metrics, I see numbers. You know, I was trained really deep in numbers and thinking like that, whether it was through engineering or not. I love a good spreadsheet. So
there we are not aligned. There we are not aligned. Maybe one of the only people that got our MBA and does not like spreadsheets.
I think it's just funny how at the end of the day, it is that truth, but I think you can get lost. And that's why it's nice to think, I try to say to people, I'm like, I don't spend all the time posting and making content. I'm not trying to be silent. I'm either working with my clients or I'm trying to interact, like you said, with people.
Yes.
And I'm spending a lot of time doing the DMs and talking
100%.
versus constantly posting. I think it's a balance.
It is.
And then I look at people who have made huge impacts on the world. And that's also, I think it's come up more and more in 2020 maybe because you can look out at the world a little bit different this year. Instead of running around and traveling and doing all the things I was going to do this year, I'm like, what is significant? What is
important? Slow down, be in the moment a little bit more, recognize what's important. And as crazy as it is, like with kids at home and virtual school and,
So do you have virtual school too? Because we have it.
Great. I love it. It's so super fun. Like when I'm in a call with a client or, potential client and my daughter's screaming Wi-Fi from upstairs, but, or, Fortnite stops and then we have a whole meltdown. But it's like that whole just connection and connectability and like, I'm just finding that there's so much more to this. There's more to like in the now, as crazy as it is, the in the now and in the moments, like there's belly laughs I'm having with my kids, as cheesy as that sounds, like just things and moments that we're having together that we would not have had we not been home together. So I have to see the silver lining, because if I don't, then Annietude doesn't exist, and I have to have Annietude. Yeah. So I don't know if you're finding that too.
Yeah, I mean, we are just kind of taking our walks. I am enjoying my puppy to figure out where he's at and what he's getting into.
What kind of puppy?
We got a Sheltie. So basically, I mean, it's kind of like a happy story and a sad story all together. But we lost our 14-year-old dog. And I think you can understand, like, she was with me for 14 years. That's a lot.
We just lost a year ago our 14-year-old dog, because I'm having like a crazy, like single white thing going on here. I'm like freaking out a little bit, but like anything else? No.
So I only have one kid. I have one son and he's 8. It sounds like you have a couple.
I have a couple. I have an 8 and a 10.
Okay.
A little girl and a boy. But yeah, so okay, there's one thing that's different. So that's good. You have brown hair.
Do you have an 8-year-old boy or 8-year-old?
8-year-old girl.
Okay, got it. Okay.
Yeah. There's a little difference. Anyway, I'm sorry. So you lost your dog.
No, I was just curious. So I knew that she wasn't going to be with us too much longer, but I didn't know. She was doing really, really well. And so I was thinking, you know what, so I looked up online, and literally I just, how your gut, you see a puppy or you see somebody advertising something. So they had a Facebook site. Oh, she's right. Or he.
Your foxes too behind you. Oh my God. My daughter had a fox obsession. For a while, I think she had 19 foxes altogether.
You want to say hi?
Oh my God, let me see her.
Oh, it's a boy. Oh,
he's a boy. Let me see. Oh, hello. It's like a little lassie, like a mini lassie.
He is, and he's so sweet. Okay, you want to look at everybody?
Hi. Oh, that is so sweet. If I had a dog, I would do the same thing. And he kind of looks a little bit foxy.
He does. His tail.
So there's that aspect too. You have the fox thing going on.
I know. He like fell right in line. It's really funny, but I didn't know that, obviously. I know. I think what's interesting is because there's a song, and I'm not going to like say a bad word or anything, but it says,
you can say a bad word. It's living with Annie.
The song is F 2020.
Oh, yeah.
And it says that like I lost my cat in a global pandemic and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, I lost my dog like right before it all happened. And so I do have to say I kind of came into 2020 with like just lost her on January 6th and then got this dog. Literally, they overlapped each other by 1 hour.
No.
It was that close.
You know what they say, Judi? They say that that's the only thing that you can replace or should replace right away. Like there's not this, like sometimes there's not this grieving process that you're supposed to go through. You're supposed to get a new animal right away because it's that hard.
That was gut wrenching.
Oh my God. Oh my God. I'm sure.
There are nice things that I found somebody who could come to our home and put our dog down so we could be in our home environment, and obviously handling loss with a 7-year-old at the time.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So it was just a lot piled on. And I was like, welcome to the pandemic that happened right after that.
Yeah, you're like, 2020 is going to be great. No, it's not. It's going to be great. So
I mean, honestly, 2020 has turned out, I mean, in some ways, like you just said, it's a positive silver lining. The parts of 2020 that are great are great. I'll just be blunt and felt like I really just kind of lost things at the beginning, like there was
a lot of loss. So that you felt that sort of emptiness. And
Yeah.
so maybe, you got a little bit more filled along the months they went by, and you started to fill up a little bit more. So that's like a little bit of a positive. I mean, if you're
Yeah.
putting a spin on
I'm
things.
going to bring everybody down on the call.
Let's look at the lighter side. You have a beautiful new puppy. He is
gotten
beautiful.
so much better. I just uploaded on Instagram, so it's at Judi Fox Rocks. And I uploaded my Instagram stories that we go to the field and we yell. We started off in Lowe's and Home Depot kind of stores where we would take him to those stores and have a long leash and then call his name. And now we can do far, far away, and we can let him go, and then he can run the whole field, like almost a football field.
They're very smart dogs, right? I mean, they're really, really smart dogs.
He wants to herd. And so
does he nip at you? Does he nip at your
ankle? He's still doing it a little.
It happens. He's how old? How old is he?
He is 9 months, I think.
Well, pets, that's still really young. Pets bring so much joy. That's such a positive thing to think about. And that's what 2020 has brought you. So life and pets and beautiful things. So yeah, I mean, so tell me, I mean, we're not nearing the end of the time. We have about 10 minutes. So I wanted to kind of see if we're aligned at all. No, I'm just kidding. Because
we already got everything else in common.
We covered that. Is there anything you want to talk about when it comes to like business or getting people to get in touch with you, or like anything you want to kind of tell the audience?
I think the biggest thing, kind of like you said, is yes, we love the metrics, but at the end of the day, I tell people that to get clients, to get business, like, yes, there's a million other dots to close clients and do sales calls, and there's a million things, but if you hone a leadership voice.
What does that mean to you? Tell me what that
baseline. So a leadership voice, and this is really what I go over. There's two things I go over that are in the first week that I work with every single person is I tell people that sense of people are going to forget what you said, but they're going to remember how you made them feel. That Maya Angelou quote. So I challenge everyone the first week I work with them is to write down the 5 ways they want people to feel that have left their content, left them. Like, how did they feel after listening to this live stream?
How do you kind of stick onto someone? What's your stickiness? Yeah.
Because that truly is the end all be all. If you live a life, you're going to have impact, you're going to have significance. But at the end of the day, also just how did you make people feel? Did you move through the world in a certain way that people can just say things about you, and you are intentional about some of how you've left the world and how you've left spaces?
I always think about, and I mean, I don't mean to be like, kind of dark about it, but I always think about like my legacy and what I want people to say, not what they're saying now, but what I want people to say, when I'm gone, how I want to leave this world. And I just feel like if you could wrap it up in a box, I just want people to say like, she brought positivity and warmth to every situation. And it's like, that's what I try to live and breathe. The living with Annietude whole mantra thing is like, I just want to be my best, most authentic self. I want people to say, damn, she was really real.
And I think that's the macro, because you just said, not everything everyone says about you. It's that whole thing that not everyone's going to like you. It's tough. Because you're just moving through this planet. You don't want people to be mad, and you don't mean to do things. But that comes back to, can you at least look at that list every once in a while and remind yourself, you know what? People have told me that I am like this. So I make them make 2 lists. One way that people literally tell you you've made them feel already. So they've already told you this. And then just to check, is that really what you want people to go forward?
Yeah.
So, yeah, and legacy is beautiful. It does not have to be morbid or dark.
I don't like to always, what does my eulogy say? But like an activity that I've gone through with clients before is like, write your eulogy, like write what would be said about you. Because when it comes down to it, we always forget, at least, I mean, I have to daily practice to be centered and be here where we are right now. Like I just said on another podcast earlier today that I was on, that it's really hard for me to be, for me to be here with you is not how I'm wired. I'm wired frenetic and kind of all over the map. And this is a practice for me. This mindfulness and centeredness that I have right now, and like in the moment and breathing like here in this actual moment, is a practice. if I didn't do my gratitude, if I didn't do my mindfulness, I would be all over the map. So I always go back to like, exactly what you said, Judi, like, what do you want to leave yourself with? What do you want to leave other people with? What do you want to, what do you, and I said stickiness because it's like, what are you sticking to the person? What are they, when you leave, are they like, when you smell somebody's like cologne or something that they were wearing, like, what are you leaving with them? And I, what are you, by the way, that's a question for you. What are you leaving with people when you
as I cough all over you? And I think so what am I leaving? I think it's more that when a leadership is really at the end of the day, have you seen and heard other people? Because if you can see and hear other people, people will see and hear you. I mean, it's not a perfect equation or anything. And we can't obviously listen to every person on the planet. We would never have, I think, the hours in the day to listen to every video that's ever been created out there. But I think at the end of the day, we have have you acknowledged other humans that you're interacting with? It's not always an exchange of look at me, take from me, like I have something.
What can you do for me? Right.
And I think that's the biggest thing about some of the sales messages or people who are showing up on LinkedIn and just the vibe and the energy they give off. It feels, especially when they come into your direct messages and they're just like, and they make a huge assumption that you need the things that they're offering.
Yes.
And it's I get it. Sales, you want to be aggressive a little bit.
There's a way to finesse it. And there's a way to, I have to tell you, Judi, that like in the past, I would say 6 months, my connections with people have been, I really started to focus on not asking for anything. Like I'm not there. I'm just there to make a connection. And it has grown for me, my connections and my network so much because I'm not asking for anything. It's just like, let's just connect. Let's vibe for a minute. Let's talk. Let me find out about you, you know, and genuinely I want to. And I'm finding that I'm connecting with people that are the same way versus before when you're in that mind of like, I need to sell you this product, you get those kind of same people back and then no one's listening to anybody.
Well, and also there's that, I want to connect with you, but I have an agenda. And so it's like an agenda over here. They're holding on to some Post-it note here.
Yeah.
And so you can feel it throughout the call because you have to have active listening where I've heard you, you've heard me, and then we're not trying to close each other at the end. Right. Connection calls. So,
and that's what people don't understand. Like that closing and stuff like that comes naturally later. Like the people that I've had say, you have to talk to this person. You know what? Let me get you on the phone with this person is so much more than had I been like, listen, Judi, do you need blah, 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 I'm trying to sell you.
Yeah.
That genuine connection.
So the biggest thing that I work on is right now I've been taking on a few more, more one-on-one clients or some corporate clients for LinkedIn. But the main thing is amplifying leadership voices. I think we realize with everything that's happened in 2020, the longest, biggest impact that you can make in life is to have a solid leadership voice. Oh, Lila is so sweet. I was about to say, the power of Lila is like when she recommends you, people take action. So, I mean, I know that it's one of the biggest things, and a book that I read is called The Intelligent Entrepreneur, and it's written by a different Harvard Business School graduates. I'm looking at my bookshelf over there. And it is just as simple as interesting people having interesting conversations with other interesting people. And that sounds crazy, but me and Lila in whatever world, we were like never going to cross paths, but until we both showed up on LinkedIn, and she's incredible and her brain and her voice and everything. So that's where,
amazing,
all it takes is having interesting conversations with interesting people. So
it is. So how can people reach you?
They can send me a message on LinkedIn. So the best way is LinkedIn or Instagram. That's where I spend time. And you can always on both channels probably search the hashtag Fox Rocks. I use it across Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, as many places as I can use hashtag Fox Rocks. So
I love it. I'm going to be
follow
using that all
follow it.
over. Follow it. Yes. So we are at our time at the end of our show already. Girl, I knew this was going to go fast, but I didn't know it was going to go this fast. This was so super fun. And all of the comments, I wanted to thank everybody for listening and like and subscribe to our stuff. So Living with Annietude podcast and Fox Rocks, follow that hashtag so we can both get our names even more out there and get our voices heard as well. And so we can hear your voices. So Judi, thank you for being here. I was looking forward to this for a long, long time. So I am psyched that we did this, and we will definitely talk more and have more.
Let's have interesting conversations with interesting
people. I know.
A lot of interesting.
So much interesting.
And hope
but like I'm feeling it.
Interesting.
I'm feeling the interesting vibe, girl. So thank you again. And I loved having you. Hang on for 1 sec. I'm going to say bye. Watch my outro. It's really, really intense. Okay. It goes like this. Thanks, everybody. See you later. Good night.